It's an oldie but a goodie, something we've been doing for a few years here on the podcast. Cash, stash, or future trash. And we're not talking about rookies this time. We're going to talk about some of these under the radar moves that we're trying to make decisions about this offseason. We got guys like James Washington and OJ Howard, Ronald Jones, Rashad Penny, Cordero Patterson, all these guys and so many more that we need to talk about here. And let's start with one of the bigger names. It ties back to the conversation we had in the startup about Tyreek Hill. They need to replace some of that production. And that happened just a couple days after the Tyreek Hill trade, Ryan, when Marquez Valdes-Scantling, the former Green Bay Packer, signed in KC, 3 years, $30 million. A guy with some speed, not as much as Tyreek, but certainly a guy that will fit into that offense as a downfield threat.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people were excited about this move. The Chiefs and Kansas City, one of those teams that we always want a piece of. I don't know if MVS is really going to be it. I mean, from the player standpoint, yeah, it's great to be playing and catching passes from Patrick Mahomes, and you can say he's the best quarterback in the league potentially, but if he's not, Aaron Rodgers might be, and MVS has already been with Aaron Rodgers the past 3 or 4 seasons. The best finish he could get was wide receiver 55. And I know, talking to you guys every week, there was a lot of frustration with MVS, a lot of dropped passes, a lot of long balls that did not come to fruition. I would say MVS is trash.
Feels like trash to me as well for those reasons that you mentioned there. It feels like one of the moves that might be good for the Chiefs because they get the field stretcher and can work people underneath, but not necessarily good for dynasty managers because it's not gonna add up to production for that specific player. Matt, do you have a different opinion?
Well, to me, it feels like the Chiefs were like, oh crap, we lost Tyreek Hill. Let's throw MVS at the wall. Let's go pick up Corey Coleman. It's assigned to him last week, I believe. So maybe they're holdover types. Maybe they're going to go out and get Jameson Williams and wait for him to get healthy to replace that speed element to their offense. I think he's future trash for sure. I think he could be cash for a couple of games early in the season. It's tough because those first couple of weeks of the season, you're only playing your studs really, right? Until you figure out what's going on with the current NFL season. So I will call him future trash, but I do think he'll have a couple of cash games early on.
Let's jump to another wide receiver in Dallas. James Washington signs on to be the number 3 guy. And that's a spot, Matt, that we've seen production from in the past. Again, we're not going to get week-to-week production, but this seems like a nice marriage. I kind of like this.
I do too. I know we saw Cedric Wilson have success there early in the season, especially after Gallup got hurt. And he's still buried on depth chart, just kind of like he was in Pittsburgh. But the quarterback is much better. James Washington was one of the best deep ball receivers in college, like over 20 yards per reception for his entire career, if I remember correctly. So I think he's going to get used. It's not going to be consistent. You're going to be probably pulling your hair out if you plug him in and he does nothing. And then the next week he hits for 100 yards and a couple of touchdowns. But I like the signing too. I think he's going to fit in well. I'll call him a stash, I think, just because I love the player so much.
I'm going to call him cash, actually, because I like the early season opportunity. And you mentioned the same thing with MVS. I think we can put him in our lineup in week 1 in 2022 and maybe get a 6 to 8 game stretch where he not only produces for us, but proves to NFL teams that he could be a viable number 2 wideout in the NFL. And that turns into a 2023 contract that we as dynasty managers like somewhere. Ryan?
Yeah, really echoing the same thoughts as you, Dan. I had him as cash as well. Gallup still there, but not expected to be ready for the start of the season. Wouldn't be a surprise if he's on PUP to begin the season. So that gives James Washington six games as potentially the number 2. I mean, obviously Dallas could bring in a rookie wide receiver as well. That wouldn't be a shock. But the difference in these 2 explosive offenses that we're talking about, Kansas City and Dallas, Kansas City has focused on their stars, on Kelsey and Tyreek throughout the past 5 or 6 seasons. That's how it's always been. We even talked about it a few episodes ago that their wide receiver 2 is just never really a fantasy asset. Dallas is the complete opposite. If you're on the field, you're getting targets. Cedric Wilson became viable. Michael Gallup became viable even when he was the third option. Blake Jarwin goes out, and now Dalton Schultz is the tight end 1. Like, if you're getting snaps, you're getting targets.
How about another running back? This one surprisingly to me, Ryan, got a lot of interest on Twitter. A lot of people were excited about Ronald Jones signing in Kansas City. I raised an eyebrow to that. I think it cemented Clyde Edwards-Helaire as the top in Kansas City as long as he's healthy, and kind of indicates that they're not going to go after another running back that might be a little bit more talented or maybe even one in the draft. What are your thoughts with Rojo ending up with the Chiefs?
I did not get this one at all, and I agree with you. I think it feels like good news for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm a guy who is still a supporter of him. He's a player I would be trying to target in dynasty trades right now. Why not just bring back Darrell Williams? I can't imagine he would cost more than that. Right. I don't get it from a Chiefs perspective. I don't really get it from a dynasty perspective. If you're excited about that signing, you just really have to hate Clyde Edwards-Helaire if that's the case. And I know a lot of people do, but this one is trash to me.
We're gonna stash him, of course. He's gonna be on a dynasty roster right now, but I gotta call him it's trash for me.
I feel like he's trash too, but I feel like I can see what they're thinking, especially if they're not going to bring back Darrell Williams. And then if they're not going to bring back Darrell Williams, they'll use Jones just like him. And Jones the only thing that he does well is he's fast and he runs fast in a straight line. Like that's his game. And so if they want to add more speed out of the backfield, I totally understand it. But I agree with you guys. Why pay this guy up to $5 million? I think that's the contract details we have, rather than just bringing Williams back on a much cheaper deal. And we saw him be effective last season. So I think I'm okay, like raising Clyde Edwards-Helaire up a little bit based on this news.
Russell Gage got the bag from Tampa Bay to be the wide receiver 3 down there with the Bucks. Ryan,
I don't get it.
Trash? Put him in the trash bag.
Oh, really? Oh, we disagree.
Yeah,
I'm going cash on this one.
Wow.
Whoa.
I am
okay.
Yeah, I am chasing the money a little bit. Chris Godwin also recovering from an ACL injury, and this is trusting Tom Brady, right? I think the Bucs offense was at their best when they had all 3 of those wide receivers, including Antonio Brown, as threats. Russell Gage has given us a wide receiver 25 season 2 years ago. He was wide receiver 40 last year, despite missing 6 games. I kind of like it.
You make a good point, especially with Godwin maybe not being healthy, to start the season. There should be some opportunity there. Maybe I'm just upset because I wanted to see Tyler Johnson get that bigger role, and I feel like he's just never going to get that. Now we also saw Scotty Miller be productive. He was kind of an exciting young player, and I think this probably squashes most of that.
It does for sure. And I don't know what his ADP. He's probably wide receiver 60 or something like that. So
66.
I guess there's maybe some value to be had there. That's going to go up though. I guess, was ADP done after the signing? Probably not.
Probably kind of overlapped. I would expect him certainly to gain some value, but still he's going to be in that 50 range at best, I think.
You could do worse with your 3rd round pick.